What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Carl. I'm the Consume and Review Lad, and I just consumed Survivor Season 41, Episode 5, and I'm going to review it on this podcast. We start off at the Green Camp, day after Tribal. They are just all happy to be there on day 10, and they're very happy that they're the final three of their tribe, and Jeannie is going to look for the Beware Idol that Brad got voted out with about 2 tribals ago. And she's very open that she's looking for it, but I'm just kind of wondering as a viewer, why is she now looking for the Beware Idol? Why didn't she look for it before, right after he got voted out? Because right after he got voted out, they went to tribal council again, and they didn't really look for maybe they looked for the Beware Idol, but the viewers at home didn't get to see that. Either way, they think it got restocked, that it's real back in the game, so she's looking for it, and she ends up finding that Beware Idol. So she picks it up, and she immediately goes to Shan and Ricard, and they talk about if they should open it or not. Shan tells her that they really shouldn't open it. Right now is not a good time to risk your vote. So Jeannie decides that she's going to leave it where she found it. After Jeannie leaves it at the spot she found it, Shan and Ricard talk, and they really just don't want Jeannie to have it. So Shan and Ricard kind of get this idea. What they're going to do is Shan's going to give Ricard her extra vote, and she's going to go ahead and open it. And once she opens it, she's going to put a fake idol inside of it. In case Jeannie does find it, she thinks she'll have the real idol, but in reality, she'll have the fake idol, which is kind of interesting because if she ever goes up to vote, so if she were to open that, get the fake idol, she's going to think that she does not have the right to vote. But then when she goes to vote, she's going to realize real soon that she can vote. And since she can vote, she probably got a fake idol. But if it really comes to that point, then Jeannie, if it comes to that point, Ricard and Shan already have an idea to vote out Jeannie. Since Shan gave Ricard her extra vote, if they end up going to tribal council and Shan can't vote, and Jeannie finds it and thinks she can't vote, but realizes she can vote. Well, Ricard has 2 votes, and he can cast 2 votes to Jeannie. Jeannie can only cast 1 vote to either Shan or Ricard, so Jeannie's going to go home regardless. So really, with this idea of opening it, giving Ricard the vote, and putting in a fake idol, there's no way for it to fail in the sense that Jeannie ends up being able to stay in the game. Unless, of course, Ricard decides to pull a fast one and vote Shan out. So anyways, Ricard now has an extra vote. Shan has an idol that doesn't work yet, and in the process has lost the ability to vote. And they go ahead and they tell Jeannie that just to see if the blue tribe has actually found it, they're going to go ahead and say the phrase at the next immunity challenge just to get an idea if it's been found yet or not. Next up, we go to the blue camp. Sydney is fishing and catches a fish. Deshawn is trying to talk to Danny into throwing a challenge again. Danny is starting to worry about the woman outnumbering the men in the game, and so they talk to Nasir about throwing a challenge, and Nasir is against it. And the 3-man talk, and they kind of think Erica has the idol. Nasir feels great about being included in the game conversation. He must feel great because not only was he able to talk game, he wasn't immediately ratted out afterwards to whoever he was talking game about. Of course, he was talking about not throwing a challenge and maybe Erica has an idol, but we didn't immediately get a scene of Deshawn and Danny telling Erica that Nasir thinks that she has an idol, or telling the whole tribe that, hey, Nasir here doesn't want to throw a challenge. We didn't get that scene. So it looks like Nasir is starting to work his way up in the social ladder. And it's very interesting that now he's kind of joining Deshawn and Danny, who had really been the 2 guys he's been against, and that got him a lot of heat in the earlier episodes of Survivor. Next up, we go to the yellow camp. Evie is working Xander. What I mean by that is she's pretending that she's still in a tight alliance with Xander. They're kind of talking game. But in reality, she's working with the women, and it's just kind of string Xander along. Tiffany starts to think that Evie and Xander really have an alliance, though, and she talks to Liliana about it. Liliana goes and searches Xander's bag to find the extra vote advantage and the idol, something that they both should know about since Xander mentioned the still a vote or the extra vote. And Evie already told them about the idol and how the idol operates, but for some reason they had to go in his bag and actually see it for themselves. Evie ends up talking to Xander about actually telling the other woman about his idol, and he says he'll tell Tiffany, but he does not want to tell Liliana. So Xander tells Tiffany about the idol, but he lies and says he found it that day. So Tiffany asks him for the paper, and they kind of talk about the kind of questions he asked. And it's obvious he's already said that statement a few times at challenges. So then he kind of admits that he did lie to Tiffany about that he didn't find it today. He actually found it earlier. We go to the next day and we're at the immunity challenge. Ricard talks about how hard Survivor is. It kind of mentions that Shan is a vegan. And so Shan says her line about the broccolis being mini trees. And then Ricard talks about all the crazy stuff the survivors are saying. Kind of mentions what Xander's been saying. So Xander said his line about the butterflies. And then after a few moments, it looks like the blue tribe's not going to say anything. It looks like we're going to the challenge. But then Nasir says the goat line, and we cut to a flashback a day earlier where Nasir found the Beware idol, and now the idol is unlocked. So had Jeannie opened it, she would have an idol now. Instead, Shan now has an idol and can vote. Xander can vote now, has an extra vote, and has an idol, and now Nasir has an idol. And one thing that we didn't get to see is nothing about the blue tribe thinking it's weird what Nasir said. Even though I believe Nishan knows about the idol, and I'm pretty sure, I believe Evie told Nishan about maybe the weird sayings they had to say at Tribal Council. Pretty much Evie kind of ran down the idol, and they weren't really able to find the idol, so maybe Deshaun maybe knows that Nasir might have the idol. Maybe that's the saying. I'm not really sure. It didn't really discuss that on the episode, what the blue tribe thought of what Nasir said. There was really no aftermath of that. Do they know he has an idol? Has he told them he has an idol? No idea, but we, the viewers at home, know that Nasir found it. He has the idol, and he said his line, so the idols are unlocked, and everyone can vote now. So this week, the immunity challenge has a reward. Winner gets a giant tarp and some rope. Second place gets a smaller tarp and some rope. The immunity challenge has the survivors go over a net, untwist a rope to release a key, unlock a machete, chop a rope to drop sandbags, and then use a slingshot to shoot sandbags at 2 targets. First 2 tribes to knock over both 2 targets get immunity. Erica, Heather, and Deshaun sit out for the blue tribe. Tiffany sits out for the yellow tribe. The blue tribe gets through the net first, followed by the green tribe and then the yellow tribe. Nasir, working for the blue tribe, gets the key and unlocks the machete and drops the sandbags. Liliana gets the key next. Ricard last. Ricard gets the machete second, and then Xander last gets the machete. Nasir hits the first target. Xander hits the first target. Xander hits his second target. A yellow tribe wins. They win immunity, and they win the giant tarp and the rope. Nasir hits the second, and the blue tribe finishes second, so they get immunity. They get the smaller tarp, and they also get the rope. And green tribe is once again, for the 3rd straight time, going to tribal council. Yellow tribe is going to pick someone off the green tribe to go on a journey, and then someone from either their tribe or the blue tribe will also go. So they select Shan from the green tribe, and Liliana volunteers on the yellow tribe. Shan and Liliana bond on their trek. Shan tells Liliana she has an idol. Liliana tells Shan about all the stuff Xander has, his extra vote, his idol. They talk about working together during the merge, but not acting like they're working together so no one else finds out. Shan tells her if she gets voted out, Ricard is not to be trusted. Shan tells Liliana she won't risk her vote, so Liliana can risk it and get the advantage. Because as always on this journey, once they do their trek, they have to go back and make a decision. And it's what we've discussed in the earlier podcast episodes for Survivor. Same thing. If you risk your vote, you get an advantage. If everyone risks their vote, everyone loses their vote. If you keep your vote safe, really nothing happens. If you keep your vote safe and someone else risks their vote, well, they get an advantage and nothing happens for you. So Shan kept her vote safe. Liliana risked it and got an advantage. So we go back to the yellow camp. Liliana gets the knowledge is power advantage. With that advantage, you can ask one player only once, one of 2 different questions. You can ask them, do you have an idol? Or you can ask them, do you have an advantage? The person they ask can't lie, and if it's a yes, they have to give them the idol or the advantage. If no, they don't have it, then nothing happens. So of course, Liliana has this, and she knows Xander has an idol. She knows Xander has an advantage. So you're only going to assume that she's going to use it on Xander to get the idol. And it's just, Xander came into this game really playing, in my opinion, a very trustworthy, maybe a really good game. And it's totally backfiring on him. Now that he has this idol unlocked, he can vote now. He has this advantage. Well, now he's going to lose it because of the knowledge of power and because he told Evie about the idol and because Evie let Liliana know about the idol. So him kind of just telling too many people too many things. It's almost an example of how you should keep things a secret, like JD tried to do of his advantage, because once it comes out, it can definitely work against you, especially this season. So Liliana, pretty much, it hasn't happened yet, but she's probably going to be able to use that to get an idol from Xander. So Xander not being able to vote, just not being able to really do anything, not have an idol, not been able to vote, not be able to use his extra vote advantage. Now has them, but he's going to lose his idol in the process because of the knowledge is power advantage. Although maybe if he had a heads up of that, he could give his idol to someone else, get asked the question, it would be a no, and then get his idol back. That hasn't been discussed in the rules. Maybe it's a possibility. I'm not sure how the rules of Survivor seem to be this season. I think it is a possibility. So for example, if him and Evie really were working together and she knew about the knowledge is power advantage, he could say, hey, Evie, here's this idol. Hold it for me. Take it. And when Liliana asks Xander, hey, do you have an idol? And he says, no. And she's like, well, you're lying. He's like, well, technically I don't because I gave it to Evie. And I guess the rules are, well, he doesn't, so her advantage goes away. So then he can go to Evie and be like, hey, Evie, remember when I gave you that idol? It'd be nice if you gave it back. And if Evie was like, okay, and gave it back, well, Xander gets to keep his idol. So maybe that's a weird way that they could go about keeping it and playing off that advantage. More than likely, that's not going to happen because Evie, Liliana, and Tiffany are working together. So more than likely, Liliana is going to play this knowledge is power advantage on Xander and get his idol. We go back at the green camp, and it doesn't show Jeannie going for the Beware idol. Now, I'm not sure why. You figured if they're going to tribal council, she knows where it's at. You figured it'd be a mad dash race to get to that idol, her versus Ricard. And they didn't discuss why. And I'm just going to, I kind of think maybe I know why. Because if Jeannie really believes that they did not open that advantage, they might believe that idol is not really unlocked yet because they didn't open it. Even though everyone said their lines, if it wasn't open, maybe their idol is not unlocked. So if Jeannie were to take that idol, open it up, she would lose her vote and the idol would not work until the next challenge, which would be after the tribal council. That's just what I'm guessing is going on. Otherwise, I'm not sure why Jeannie did not go for it if it's already unlocked. So I'm thinking it's probably technically, if it hasn't been opened, maybe technically it's not unlocked yet, and that's why she's not going for it because she'll lose her vote. But if she knew about it, maybe she would go for it. It doesn't matter, even if she did go for it, even if it technically would be unlocked, it's a fake idol. Shan has the real idol, so it would not have mattered, but she would have maybe played a fake idol. Anyways, Shan's on her journey, so Ricard is working Jeannie into voting Shan, talking about how she doesn't really trust Shan. Shan might blindside her. Maybe Ricard and Jeannie should work together into getting Shan voted out. Shan comes back and she talks about the journey, and they all decide they're going to do some one-on-ones before tribal. And during Shan and Jeannie's one-on-one, they talk about voting out Ricard. Jan tells Shan that Ricard was throwing her name out as a blindside, which, of course he is. What else would he be doing? Even if he wanted to pretend, he couldn't really pretend to be after anyone else. It's either him, Jeannie, or Shan. So, of course, going in the tribal council, the only person he could game against would be Shan. So he would game against Shan. So I'm not really sure if Shan was really worried about it or if she kind of realized that there was no one else he could be gaming against. I mean, he could just not game, but not gaming at this point in the season, at this point with only 3 people left, it's probably just as much as gaming. If you're not gaming, Jeannie's going to know, okay, I'm definitely the target because he's not even trying to get me to vote for Shan. Shan, for the 3rd straight episode, asks for the extra vote. So she gave it to Ricard earlier in the episode so they could vote out Jeannie in case they weren't able to unlock the idol. But now going before tribal, she wants it back from Ricard. And Ricard is like, no, if I give you this extra vote, there's no reason for you to keep me. And so Shan is really worried that Ricard might actually blindside her. He tells her to play her idol if she doesn't believe him and that he will give her the advantage back tomorrow. So we go to tribal council and they kind of talk about what Jeannie and Ricard did when Shan was not at the camp. Ricard talks about coming up with moves and Shan closing on them and that Jeannie is an honest person and he does not know who he wants to work with going forward. Jeff talks about how tonight's votes is really no hard feelings unless jury starts. Ricard talks about how the 2 left on this tribe will have targets on their back due to their experience at tribal council and that they were the final 2 from that tribe. So we go to the votes. And, there was the ask. You want to play an idol? You want to play an advantage? No one plays an idol. No one plays an advantage. Jeannie is voted out 2-1, which is probably the right move for both Shan and Ricard. Now they have an extra vote and they have an idol going forward. And since there's 2 people left, something's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. They showed a clip where they teased a merge, but it was something that shocked the survivors. So I'm not sure if it's going to be a tribe swap, if it's going to be a merge. It's going to be something we haven't seen before. Not sure whatsoever. But you have to assume that it's not going to be Shan and Ricard on the green tribe going forward, because next tribal council is going to be a fire making challenge. There's really nothing else left at this point, unless they do some crazy twist where they bring in the 4 people voted out beforehand, and those people pick who goes home and who advances in the game, which I don't see that happening either. But who knows? It's going to be a surprise. That's what they're teasing. So this green tribe, once again, we have a tribe that's down to 2 members in Survivor. It started with Sarah being voted out because of losing the puzzle. At least that's what the viewers at home are led to believe. Who knows what actually was the reason? Maybe it's for losing the puzzle. Maybe because they think she's really smart and she might go far. Let's get her out now before she can make it to the merge and go really far. Either way, she got voted out, and we're led to believe it's because she lost the puzzle, which it could be that simple. Maybe she just lost the puzzle. They need someone to go home. There you go. Next up, we have Brad, who goes home with an idol and an advantage. He couldn't play it because he couldn't even vote. And that's really the vote that really, I think, divided this tribe. At least you were, at the time, assumed divided this tribe, because at the time you had Brad, Jeannie, and Shan, and then you had JD, Ricard, and Shan. And this was the vote that really split whose side is Shan going to be on. And she voted out Brad, who had an idol, had an advantage, trusted her with that information. She could have kept him in the game and maybe used that with him to go forward. Instead, she decided to get Brad out, and she made her decision. She was going to be with JD, and she is going to be with Ricard. At least that's what we thought, until the next tribal council, where Shan was able to get JD to give up his extra vote once again, and blindsided him and voted him out and kept the extra vote and kept Jeannie in the game. And finally, Jeannie goes out 2-1, and she could have had the idol. She could have opened that idol advantage, risk not having a vote, say the line, Xander says the line, Nazir says the line, have an idol, and been able to really stay in this game. She didn't do that. So Ricard and Shan are the last 2 out of the green tribe. They pretty much outlasted everyone, and they're going to go into whatever is next in this season, whether it's a tribe swap or a merge or something we haven't seen before. But those players they voted out, how good were they at Survivor? Were they really that great? Brad, I felt like could have maybe gone farther on an older season. The fact that he found these advantages and weren't able to use them and weren't able to vote really hurt him in this newer type season of Survivor. JD was really, everything we saw about JD, he was a terrible Survivor player. Absolutely terrible. The fact that he gave up this advantage twice is pretty remarkable. And then, of course, he gets blindsided, which is a smart move. If you have that advantage, yeah, vote JD out. That's the smart move, because who knows what happens come merge time. JD could flip on them, might as well get an advantage out of that. And Jeannie, she could have had an idol. She trusted Ricard and Shan. She took their advice, and she didn't get the idol. So Ricard and Shan, they did a lot of work to get to the final 2. How good were the people they voted out? I'm not too sure. Either way, it doesn't matter, because they made it. They were able, and they worked a lot. They strategized a lot, and you saw it in these episodes. Shan and Ricard are really building up that Survivor resume on the green tribe. The only disadvantage is they're going to have to tell everyone about it, because no one else is going to actually know what happened on the green tribe, what happened at tribal council. Not the jury, not anyone else in the game. So when it comes down to final tribal council, if they make it that far, they're going to have really a whole new resume at that point to impress the jury. They have to have a resume the jury was actually there to witness, because besides just seeing them walk in to challenges and leave challenges going to tribal, they weren't there to witnesses all the scheming and the gaming and what went down, which was a lot of work went down on that, and it was a lot of impressive work, I will say that. Let's get into the GOAT of the week and the BOAT of the week. As always, the GOAT is the worst player of the week, and the BOAT is the best player of the week. The GOAT of the week this week is Xander telling Tiffany about his idol and lying about such a small detail he didn't even need to lie about. Not sure why he didn't just tell the truth. Yeah, I found this a few days ago. I want to work with you now and play it, and we can use this going forward. Instead, he lied about it. Of course, she caught him in the lie. So the fact, really, I know he was like the first BOAT of the week. And I thought at the time, he was playing a good game, but it's really coming around to really hurt him at this point. Being so open about his advantages, being so open about his idols, now it's coming back to he's losing. He's going to probably lose that idol in the next episode. That advantage will maybe not even matter if he loses that idol. I mean, yeah, he gets an extra vote, but against Evie, Liliana, and Tiffany, it might not matter too much. Either way, he's the worst player of the week because he telling someone about your idol's pretty bad, but telling someone and then lying about it and then being caught in the lie, okay. Boat of the week, the best player of the week, Shan, once again, is the boat of the week. And again, in this episode, she played Survivor pretty hard. She convinced someone not to take an idol advantage when there's only 3 people left on the tribe. Don't take the idol advantage. And then she worked out a way to get the idol advantage and a way to keep her alliance of her and Ricard together to keep their votes to get out Jeannie in case she lost her vote and wasn't able to unlock the idol. Then she formed an alliance with Liliana that will help her forward in the merge. So she is the boat of the week. This is the 3rd boat of the week for Shan this season. The first few episodes of Survivor weren't really that great, but really these last 2 episodes I feel like turned it around. I know last episode they didn't have a lot of twists, and it was kind of a decent episode. This episode, they had the twist. And even then, it was still a decent episode. It's a very enjoyable episode. And I liked how going into the Immunity Challenge, we really got to see everything from all 3 tribes. So going to the Immunity Challenge, you had really no idea, because it could have been either one of the 3 tribes, and you already had storylines set up of who would go home and who would stay. Anyways, that was my review for Survivor, Season 41, Episode 5. My name is Carl. I'm the Consumer Review Lad. If you would like, I'd like to know what you guys thought of this episode of Survivor, so please tweet me at consume_review, or if you're on YouTube, leave a comment down below. If you're on YouTube and you enjoyed this podcast, please click that like button. If you did enjoy the podcast, please click subscribe. Maybe you'll enjoy a future podcast. Anyways, my name is Carl. I'm the Consumer Review Lad, and this has been my review for Survivor, Season 41, Episode 5. Peace out.